morning. I'm joined this morning by Lynn and Cammie for the ladies edition of Yankee Chronicles. We're also joined today by Bobby, one of the co-creators of Yankee Chronicles and also the leader of the men's podcast. We're here to break down the week in Yankee universe. Lots going on this week, records being set, stars being born, etc. Where anybody like to get started and kick us off? Anybody have a topic?
I'll kick it off by saying it was really just an amazing week with Yankee baseball. Especially going into the White Sox series, coming off a 7-3 road trip. Multiple series, back, left and right. It really seems like the team's starting to come together, and they have bonded. We're seeing things that we haven't been able to see for a while. Dieter Gregorius was always one of those, clubhouse dugout cheerleaders, and you're starting to see that role being taken on, by someone you didn't expect with Rougned Odor. You saw as soon as he came back into the dugout, you just saw a new life for that team. And it's kind of like that spark plug that they've been missing, the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I agree. The other surprise in the dugout has been Garrett Cole as well, because he's in that dugout every game, and actively in the dugout, chatting it up with the pitcher, on the mound that day, and I just like to see it because, there's an element of leadership that's coming from him. You just get that sense. So you got Odor for the fun and the sparkle, and you have Cole for sort of anchoring and chatting up what's going on in the game, and probably, I assume, giving some pointers to both Sanchez or Higgy and the pitcher. So I think for both ends, finally, some guideposts in the ground for them.
Yeah, no, the camaraderie between the pitching staff it's not talked about as being as important as it really is. You see them all feeding off each other, advising each other. Cole, starting it, talking to the pitcher on the mound in between innings. Along with Matt Blake. I think with Matt Blake's analytics and Cole's, grittiness on the mound, I think that's becoming an amazing team that's really propelling this pitching staff.
Yeah, what's interesting about that and the power of the pitching is, and I'm sorry, I don't remember where I read it. I don't remember my name sometimes, but I was reading that because actually all across baseball, there's pitching staff like this, and we're seeing lower scoring games, a lot more shutouts, and there's some talk about adjusting the mound again to help offenses. Have any of you heard that?
I think what you're saying is so interesting because just before the show today, I started reading a couple of articles about Don Mattingly's comment this week that baseball is becoming unwatchable and that his friends won't even tune in anymore, which by friends, I assume he means former players. Mm-hmm. So these are issues that are coming up around baseball, not just in the Yankee system, but is the ball dead? Is deadening the ball giving the pitchers the advantage this season? I just read an article by Ball 9 that says, hey, the truth is hitters in the launch angle era have lost the ability to do other things and with their hitting styles. And that this is what's the result is. And Mattingly says it's been coming on for 15 or 16 years. Huh.
Yeah, no, it's been a big problem in baseball. Mattingly, and he's spot on. And, the friends, like you said, it's that generation of ball players that bonded over the game. They're not interested anymore. It's become boring to that generation to just see home run, strikeout, walk.
Exactly.
It's not the way the game is meant to be played. Line drives, stolen bases, situational hitting, bunting run is over, stolen bases. That's the type of baseball that we all became fans on, and we don't have that anymore.
No.
So not only are they losing the ability to bring in new fans, they're losing the older ones.
Right.
Right.
Yep. And I found a stat, hitters are going down by way of strikeout more frequently than at any time in history.
Yep.
And that's an interesting statement there. This is a nice segue into our own starting pitching, because the Yankees have followed the league trend so far, and we've now thrown a no-hitter this week with Gleybor on, what was it, Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah, I feel like it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yankee starting pitchers have not allowed a run in the last 30 innings.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's backing up what Madeline's talking about.
Yeah. Yankee starters Gleybor, Monty, Herman, and Cole have had 4 straight starts of 7+ innings pitched and no runs for the second time in New York Yankee history since 1932. So
that's a long, and that was in the right after they got rid of the dead ball era. Where you started to see the Babe Ruths, and we're really and just that generation of ball players, and it just shows how sustainable the game can be when you let things progress naturally. Not like Rob Manfred that wants to force tweak the ball game. That's when things go off the rails.
Manfred has not done anything that I've ever agreed with. I don't think yet. So.
And it's getting worse.
No, the only, to bring it back to today's game, with the way that our pitching staff has been able to have, the 30, scoreless innings and just dominate, the strikeouts, it was great to see Montgomery have such a phenomenal game. After having his last outing, he really wasn't strong at all. So it's not that it's because they're just dominant. I think it's also because they're getting confident. And it's also, the upside is it's hiding the struggles of the offense that it is. Yesterday, coming off of yesterday's game where they put up 7 runs, you don't see that in baseball a lot. So the high scoring games are becoming more rare than the no hitters. And that's a big problem in baseball. The no-hitter is supposed to be something rare and special, and it's not to take away from what those pitchers accomplished.
Right.
But it just shows the downtrend of offense, where other sports push for more offense for entertainment's sake. Baseball went in the other direction, and it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
By Manfred.
Yep. I want to circle back to Montgomery's outing.
Yep.
He just shoved it against the White Sox, and against the best hitting team against left-handed pitching in the league. Monty had just a phenomenal outing.
Yeah, no, the way that he was, that's not an easy offense to hit off of, to pitch against rather. So it really just it highlighted the way that he was able to look at what the mistakes he made in the previous outing, and correct them. He focused more on his breaking ball that day. That game was just, it was insane how unhittable that was.
Yep. He threw 7 innings of 4-hit ball without giving up a run. He had his curveball working for him. He was visibly pumped up and emotional, which I thought was great. He was, given the fist pump, and he just looked phenomenal on the mound.
Yep.
And the Yankee defense was sharp and has been improving. That was the day they turned the triple play.
Yep.
Yep.
It was just, that was something. It's good to see that the Yankees finally turned the double play and not, hit into, the triple play.
Yeah.
But then hitting into, all the double plays.
Exactly.
They're on record pace right now as a team as a whole of the amount of double plays they're going to hit into.
Yep.
And it's hard to watch because it just shows they're seeing the pitch, but the pitcher has such an advantage. It's that's just that's the way Manfred wants the game to go. Low score. Pitching and defense, and the offense has been left in the dust.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Well, according to James Smythe, the Yankees stats guru, the Yankees are the first team in MLB history to pitch a no-hitter, turn a triple play, and have a walk-off win all in a 3-day span. So this week was just full of records and all kinds of exciting stuff for Yankee universe. Cole, in fact, had a record this week. He had 59 strikeouts since his last walk, which was a new MLB record. Of course, that didn't last. He gave up some base on balls after hitting that record. In fact, Cole, maybe we could talk about Cole for a few minutes. His outings have been not as strong as his previous outings, and yet he's still had strong outings. Anyone?
Yeah, well, it just to me, that's how great he is. That even when he's struggling, it's any other pitcher's great day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It just a lot of us fans forget Cole is human. He's gonna have everybody's gonna have a rough day at the office once in a while.
Right.
But Cole is the epitome of professionalism, where he's gonna shake it off. He's not gonna let it affect the mood of the dugout. He's not gonna carry it into his next start. So. And it was already proven. It's all right. Game's over. Now you move forward. So Cole having a bad day is rare, which makes it a little, in the moment, a little frustrating. This is not the guy we expect. But it's not going to linger, and that is a little less salt on that wound for that game.
And he's going to learn from it. He's going to pick every pitch apart, and that.
Oh yeah.
And it was really his last outing was really the first time I saw it on his face. Like, he was pissed, but he was pissed at himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
But and he's usually pretty stoic out there. So that told me that he was going to go back and teach himself a lesson. And I would imagine, based on what we said earlier, that he's going to debrief with the other pitchers about it. So that, he's teaching them where he went wrong.
Absolutely. And in spite of having a couple of outings that seem a little less than what we're used to from Garrett Cole, his line so far this season has per Katie Sharp, another stats guru. Garrett Cole is the first Yankee pitcher with a sub-2 ERA and a sub-9 WHIP through his first 10 starts of the season since 1952. So despite his what we consider subpar, but not really, Cole's having a perfectly fine season.
Yeah, it's even his off games are better than most pitchers' average games.
It's hard to say.
So the same thing with a player like LeMahieu. He's still having a phenomenal year considering the state of the offense throughout the league, and and most players on the team itself. But even his subpar start for him is still above average for the sport. So you have to just kind of roll with the punches for a little bit until everything levels itself out. Because those are two players on one on offense, one on defense. That's really they're gonna weather the storm. There's it's nothing to throw red flags on. They're gonna be just fine as the season progresses.
Absolutely. Yep. And I think that the Yankee offense is starting to pick it up, and they're supporting the starting pitching better than they have been in previous games. Gleybor, Andujar, Judge, and that's just to start with, have picked up. It's funny because a couple days this week, I don't know if this happened to you, but particularly on the day Tyone started, I said, this is the worst lineup I've ever seen.
It was bad.
I said that.
And then I knew as soon as I said it that they would win that day, and they did. And they had not only that, they had probably the finest inning for the offense of the season.
Yeah, I think before that game, I actually tweeted out how they're a lineup like this is making the podcast too easy. Because we were all I was like, oh, this is just going to be a wild game, and there's going to be so much to talk about.
Yeah.
It's they're doing the job for us a lot, which is fine by me.
And listen, it teaches us a lesson. You should never overlook the underdog.
Oh, absolutely. Multi-hit games in the Tyone outing for Judge, Odor, Andujar, and Ford, of all people. Ford right. Gets the start, and he comes up big for us in that game.
Yeah, Ford's a tricky player because he'll have that one game that he'll really propel, and then he'll have like his next 10 times in the lineup. It's almost like he didn't show up, and you have that one game, and it fools management to say, okay, oh, he's figuring it out, or he's working through things. Meanwhile, you have other players in the minor leagues, especially a player like Dietrich that can come up, and you might get the same thing, but you can't get any worse.
Right. And yet, Ford will surprise you every now and then. Did anyone ever think you'd see that stolen base from him yesterday?
No, that was great. What good instincts there.
I mean, my timeline was filled with nothing but Ford, question mark, Ford, question mark. But we need consistency, and Ford just doesn't bring it. It's not just a matter of every now and then like everyone has. So
no, that's because it's not just this year. So you can't use the argument, well, offense is down around the league. No, right. This is just a player he is.
Right.
He's not an everyday player. He's a plug-in.
Right. And if I can just shift to Gardy for a minute, I'm a Gardy girl. I'm not going to apologize for it. But he is, no pun intended, stepping up to the plate since he's been a regular player.
Yep.
And it goes to show, and I think Kay might have talked about it, the difference between when you have to produce consistently versus when you're plopped into a lineup every now and then. It has to do something to the psyche, first of all. This is an 11, 12-year veteran. And all these kids are, coming in, and we know it's probably his last season, but, he's been producing.
He has been.
I haven't taken a look at his stats over the past week or so, but I just think the haters will quiet down. I hope they will a little bit. It's been really good to see him, hitting that bat.
I agree.
And
I made a note on the 20th to myself that Gardy has picked up the offense. He went 1 for 4 that day and 2 for 3 in the series, and he's batting 200. He's hit the Mendoza line. So Gardy's definitely trending up.
If I could throw a question at you, about something that we brought up on the regular show during the week.
Absolutely.
And something that we noticed with Gardner, so it pertains to the conversation, is the difference between Gardy as the bench player and then when Hicks got hurt, Gardy as an everyday player. If you look at he was not mentally ready like he thought to be the backup. And now that he's getting an option to, the availability to play every day, now we're seeing classic Gardner, at the plate. His defense, he's beating the ball better in the outfield. He doesn't seem like he's missed a step like he did in the beginning of the season. Do you think that's a fair statement that maybe being an everyday player is what he really needs to close out his career?
Yes.
I think it's a fair statement for any player. I think, except for starting pitchers who obviously need the rest days in between their starts. But I think for any player, playing consistently will make them a better player than just filling in. And I think that goes for any sport, any time, any age. I don't care whether the kid's like 20 or 23 or whether they're 38 or 40, because it has everything to do with those skills being used over and over again on a consistent basis. You just get better at it, or you maintain your good level.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. People who exercise, I know people who exercise very seriously. I don't, but they say when they miss a day or 2 or 3 of running, and these are people who run like 10 miles a day kind of thing. I mean, they're very, when they work out in gyms and stuff, if they miss even 2 or 3 days, they can feel it. They don't feel the same when they go back, even just after 2 or 3 days. I said just 2 or 3 days. But I know I walk a lot because I live in a European city. There's nowhere to park a car. Where are you going to park it on a medieval street, right? It's like 2 feet wide, right? So you have to walk a lot. And I know, like, if I miss my walking days, I'm huffing and puffing. I mean, I'm huffing and puffing anyway, but even more so after a couple of days. So it just makes sense, right? Just mentally and physically, that consistency just builds up over time, and then people start producing. It's like like I have a friend who's a marathon runner, and she has to run every day no matter what, because when she gets to that marathon and it's whatever 26.2 miles, whatever it is, like, you have to work up to that. So you have to have that consistency every single day. So yeah, I think that's a fair statement, not just for Gardy, but for any one of those guys, for sure, except obviously for the pitching.
Absolutely, 100%. I think too, if you look at Andujar, he's also improving both on offense and defense, because he's playing more. He's getting more ops at the plate. He's looking pretty good at the plate right now. I have to say on defense, well, it's still a work in progress, considering he made a gaffe, just yesterday or the day before, that caused, ran in front of
the day before,
but let's talk about Gleybor Torres. I know, Lynn, you've got Gleybor marked as our player of the week. Let's talk about him a little bit. He's definitely been bringing it on.
It's been a long time since we've talked about Gleybor specifically. You know, we know there's never a good time, obviously, to have to quarantine because of COVID. But you know, he had just started heating up before he had to go on the IL. And maybe some of us were concerned that he would come back and be back to lukewarm, you know, after missing so many games. But he didn't miss a beat and actually got hotter since he's been back. So you know, he went 8 for 14 since coming back from COVID, with a 541 at batting average. And as we all know, he was all about our win the other night between the home run and the walk-off single. And it was just good to see his face and, you know, everyone running out like we just won the World Series, and dumping water on him. You know, that has to feel good for every player, but for a young kid like Gleybor, who knows he's been struggling and, you know, worried about, you know, who else is around him, it was just a great moment. And he also is improving defensively. I know we've been hard on him about not being a good shortstop, and you know, that has been true, but recently he's at least giving us average stats,
Yeah,
as opposed to, you know, the sub-average we've been seeing for most of the season. And he's made some pretty, you know, important plays. Unfortunately, I feel bad for him that he wasn't part of the triple play.
yeah.
That would have been like a triple.
That would have been cool. Mm-hmm.
But you know, he's turning the ball better. He's changed his releasing of the ball to more, you know, that second step he was taking seems to be gone for the most part. So he's releasing the ball a lot sooner, and it's been noted that he's more side throwing, a la Jeter, than trying to turn and throw. So all those things that were, you know, making him not so effective and not getting the ball fast enough to first for an out. Hopefully it's going to continue to dissipate like that. And then we'll have the full ticket Gleybor that, you know, we had when we first got him. So, you know, for that reason, and, you know, for his just sticking with it, and you can see that he's really committing to growing and learning and, you know, putting the time out, you know, like you just said, Cammie, he's putting the time out there between games to better himself. So player of the week in my mind. What do you guys think of my choice? Do you agree, or would you have had someone else in mind?
I completely agree.
Yeah, I totally agree.
He came back. You know, we had a rough start to the year on both sides of the ball, and you saw as he was starting to get more confident with his defense. Now you're starting to see the payoff where he's more comfortable at the plate because he's not at the plate thinking about the mistake he made. He's just able to focus on one task at a time. And you're starting to see the payoff and the talent that he really has, you know, for being patient with the game and just letting the game take its, you know, baseball is a very fluid sport. You know, the offense is going to affect the defense. The defense is going to affect the pitching. You know, so it all ties in together. And you're starting to see that everything is just starting to, you know, they're on a nice current right now as a whole. And the shortstop is a very big part of that current. And being that he's been able to pick it up offensively because of the growth at the shortstop position, it's paying dividends.
Yeah.
Yep. And despite the injuries we're having this year, and that's really changing and challenging the lineup construction, fielding, etc. I mean, for example, I was just thinking as we were talking about Gleybor, I can't help but think about Andujar, who's really always been one of my favorite players. I always want to see him doing well. With Clint, I mean, we got Hicks and Clint both out in the outfield. Hicks is having the surgery to repair the wrist sheath. Same surgery Teixeira had that kept him out. I don't know what you guys think about Hicks coming back from that, but didn't it more or less end Teixeira's career finally?
Yeah, that was one of the final straws. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was never the same after that.
Yeah, so I'm not predicting that for Hicks, but Clint's out with neck stiffness. And in the meantime, in the last 7 games, Andujar has managed to hit 308. And he's had a few miscues on defense. But if Clint's not careful, he's not going to have a position when he comes back. And he came in actually and pinch hit, I believe, or came in for defense, I forget which. And we ended up with an outfield of Frazier, Andujar, and Wade. Is that correct? Did that happen?
It was a very strange alignment.
Very strange. We've had some strange alignments.
You know, as much as we dump on Wade, and I want to get back to Andujar, but real quick with Wade, with that perfect game, you know, that catch he made in the 9th inning, you know, that's where his speed came into play.
Yep.
Because that should have dunked in. You know, so especially with somebody that's not that, you know, it's not a natural position for him. You know, he had a good read on the ball. I think, the quick feet from being an infielder was a major plus in preserving that no hitter. So Wade deserves credit for reading the play the way he did. Because I think any other backup player, that no hitter wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
That's my guess. But with Andujar, you're starting to, you know, I don't think he's playing a terrible outfield.
He's not.
We know he's not going to be an all-star outfielder. You know, he's not going to make every play, but make the basic plays. You know, don't overthink the easy ones. That's where things can really go off the rails. And I think Andujar is smart enough to know, stay in my lane. You know, I'm not going to be, you know, an Olympic swimmer like Frazier and dive for everything that goes into the outfield. So,
right.
And also we know his at bat is going to be is not anything to worry about.
Yeah.
So I think with the consistency, which is the most important thing with any professional sport, but more so in baseball, consistency is just as important as practice itself.
I agree. Yep, I agree 100%. Let's look forward to today's game. We got Tyone on the bump and against Dallas Keuchel. I don't know what you guys think about Keuchel. He's a tough pitcher, but in his last outing, he gave up 7 hits, 1 home run, 3 runs. So there's at least the possibility that the offense continues with this momentum.
Well, based on that, you know, maybe they're not mismatched, but well matched. You know, because Tyone hasn't been exactly fantastic the last couple of outings. So, you know, it's bad to say, but it's good to hear that Keuchel, you know, isn't the way he has been. That makes me a little bit hopeful. You know, and I believe in Tyone. I think he has the stuff. You know, and I don't think this will be, you know, it's an adjustment situation, I'm sure. But I think compared to other pitchers on the White Sox side, this would be the one we would want to
Did
have.
we get lucky or what with being able to miss Giolito? I mean, I realized we still had to face Rodon, but at least we didn't have to face Giolito too. But I believe in Taillon as well. I mean, at least we don't believe today he'll have to throw a no-hitter for the Yankees to win. They've been scoring more than 2 runs, at least a couple times this week. The offense has definitely got momentum going into this game after the 7. Didn't we score 7 runs yesterday? It was 7-0. Yeah. So we're definitely pushing forward with more momentum than we ever have this season.
Yeah, and I don't remember the last time we've been above 4 or 5 runs for a win. So maybe that's a little bit of an anomaly. I hope not. I hope that's the way of the future. My only concern with the rubber game is the extra fire the White Sox are going to bring today. I mean, we expected a dead-on, head-to-head battle.
Yeah.
Offensive.
Yes,
And so this is a way off from our expectations, and it makes me wonder if they're going to say, well, we're not going to let them take all 3.
right.
So
Well, it makes me wonder if the AL Central isn't a weaker division than we thought.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that's a good point. The White Sox have, really taken baseball by storm with the lineup and their rotation. They're not a pushover team by any stretch.
No.
But when you look at that division and the struggles that the game overall has had with offense, like we talked about through multiple sessions, it can be a little deceiving of how to. There's no real way to gauge a team this year, because of the way that the baseball has been implemented, and changed by Manfred. So it's a very frustrating year, from on multiple aspects, because some teams are just really deceiving. So I think going into this game is really what they need to make a statement is not for baseball's stats, but for the Yankees itself. They need to sweep a series.
They do.
And if they can sweep this series with the White Sox, I think it sends a message to baseball that the Yankees are back in the driver's seat and they're not taking any prisoners, type of mentality. So this is a very important game. Boone has to manage this for a series sweep.
I agree.
Not just, you can't take his foot off the pedal just because they won the series already.
Yep, the Yankees are coming. The Yankees are coming for that number 1 spot.
And I'm not sure
Yeah,
what
at least.
going off the pedal really means, since he seems to be off the pedal all the time.
But he manages very differently in that third game. If the Yankees had won the first 2, you'll see his bullpen moves is sometimes questionable. The way he manages the innings with the pitching staff, particularly, is very subpar, even for Boone.
And also the lineup he'll put out today, that'll tell us a lot.
Well, the lineup is out if you haven't seen it.
Oh, I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
I'll read. So we have leading off is LeMahieu. Voigt's batting second at playing first. Judge is the DH.
Okay, great. I was thinking with our luck, he'll rest freaking Judge today. Anyway.
No, he was very smart with that. Yes, LeMahieu, Judge. Urshela's in the fourth hole, playing third. Torres at short. Sanchez behind the plate. Andujar in right and left field. Frazier's in the lineup in right.
All right.
Batting ninth and center. So it's not actually. I kind of like that lineup.
Yeah.
I Gardner is best actually in the 9th spot. Because once you get
Yes.
to the first turn of the lineup, he's
Yep.
a leadoff hitter. And when you have, him and LeMahieu, and then
Yep.
the power bats behind them, that's dangerous.
Yep.
Right. It's
I like that lineup.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, I like that they're being consistent with their trust in Andujar.
Yeah.
Consistency. That's it. Consistency.
Yep. Keep that bat in the lineup.
Yeah, I like it. And if they play the way they're stacked, there's going to be no stopping them.
Yeah.
So,
It makes you miss the days of where you didn't need to wait for the lineup to come out. You knew who was playing. You knew what order they were in the lineup.
Yes.
It's like, I feel old, but I'm like, but those were the days,
Those were the days.
yeah.
Yes. You never know. In fact, Fangraphs made a comment this week in an article that the Yankees were desperate. They had come to the Ryan Lamar era of their desperation. And it was true. Unfortunately, he got injured the minute he came up. So we are experiencing lineup dysfunction with these injuries that we've got, but it's still a good lineup. And Frazier has to get a hit eventually, right?
You would hope so.
Kind of a basic expectation. Yeah. And
final thoughts on today preview or anything we didn't cover?
number one, Luke Voigt, button your damn jersey.
Hey, wait, that's pretty good eye candy.
The field is not a disco. So, save that for 11 p.m. on. No, but seriously, second of all, I'm loving the slight improvement in fundamentals I'm seeing. I want to see more of that. I want to see, the less swinging for the fences that have gotten us nowhere, and see more of that offensively and defensively, being smart about your turnovers defensively, and worry about just getting on base, and then worry about not abandoning those who are already on base.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then don't run. I hate this play that the Yankees run. Is it just me? When the player's at third base and the ball's hit and he takes off for home, that happened twice this week, and he was out. The player was out both times.
Contact play.
Can we stop doing that, or can we improve it?
Well, that's a side effect of the lack of home run, ball from the Yankees. Because it used to be, get a double, a single, and then it was a 3-run homer.
Yep.
So they don't know how to run from third to home. They can't read the infield ground ball anymore.
That's true.
They don't see it. So that goes to really working on the fundamentals and just, going back to the beginning, of the way the game is, designed to be played.
Back to Little League.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If the ball is hit to the third base side, don't run. It's that simple. To my final thought with today's game, Tyone has to really control the upper strike zone. He's got the spin rate. He's got to do better with his location, because his spin rate is very deceptive when the ball's up in the zone. If he can hit the corners of the strike zone the way he was a few weeks ago, I think he's going to give the White Sox hitters a handful of frustration.
I hope so.
Yep.
Yeah.
And stop running into outs. That's it.
Exactly.
That's driving me crazy more than a double play, because it's just so basic.
Yep.
Basic. The double playing, some I would say 60% of the time with the double plays, it's really due to just, good defense on the other side. Because sometimes, as much as we want our team to win, the other team is playing to win as well. So sometimes you just have to, they have talented ball players. The Yankees aren't the only ones with talent. So you just got to out-talent the other team. And sometimes it's, harder. It's easier said than done.
Absolutely, 100%. My final thought for today is Andujar's ready to hit a home run. He's due. It's time. And I mean, Gleybor got his. So my pick for the day is Andujar to blast one out. And also for the off, of course, that's me speaking after a show where we say all they do is hit home runs. Here's me hoping for a home run. But anyway, and I know Andujar is the doubles king. So if he hits a double, I'll be cheering just as hard.
We'll take what we could get for him.
Exactly.
He's been on base before him.
Yep. Cammie, any final thoughts from you before we say goodbye?
No, just, I hope everyone just keeps up the consistency that they've been doing. I think that's really, been a big theme is consistency. And how do you get to consistency, right? You do it by playing over and over again, by being played, right? Being in the lineup, working on those skills. And this is a team that if they do that, if they kind of, really embrace the concept of what it means to be consistent, I think they could have an incredible rest of the season. But I think that they have to understand what that means and how to get there, and how it's managed by the managers and by people at the top as well. So, yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, go Yankees.
Just go
Let's
do
go.
it.
Let's
do
go
it.
Let's go do it.
All
Bring
right.
it.
Thank you for joining us today and spending part of your Sunday with us. Have a great week, and hopefully we get a win behind Tyone today. See you
All right,
next
let's
time.
go.
All right, go Yankees.
Go.